Welcome everybody to a look at the first film in the directed by David Lean Volume 1 box set, and it is 1942's In Which We Serve. So this is directed not just by David Lean but also by Noel Coward in only his, I think his one and only main feature directorial film. And yeah, David Lean also went on to do the likes of Lawrence of Arabia, The Bridge on the River Kwai, and Summertime. So this is a war film, clocking at 114 minutes long. Also stars Noel Coward in the leading role, who was also in the likes of The Italian Job and Bunny Lake is Missing. You've also got John Mills, who was in the really rather quite harrowing When the Wind Blows, as well as King Rat and Cottage to Let. And finally, Bernard Miles, who was in the likes of The Man Who Knew Too Much, the 1950s version, and Moby Dick, also from the 50s. So this is a story of the HMS Torrin, from its construction to its sinking in the Mediterranean during action in World War II. The ship's first and only commanding officer is Captain E.V. Kinross, who trains his men not only to be loyal to him and the country, but most importantly to themselves. So this is entirely a product of its time, and it is clear its purpose was to stir up some patriotic sentiment during World War II. They even had the cooperation of the Ministry of Information during the time. Now, sure, this makes this a very single-purpose effort that is really rather dry and serious, which does mean that struggles to fully engage me. But the fine performances and reasonable plot do help to offset that somewhat. It is also well paced, has decent production value, and the narrative structure is executed effectively as you see the ship get attacked and sink, and there's several of the men that are on a partially flooded raft or in the ocean itself, and then it flashbacks to them and the construction of the ship and the first time it goes out to sea, the first time it actually gets attacked and heavily damaged and such. So, plus you also see them in their ordinary lives with their partners, with their kids, and such like that. So the narrative structure is effectively done because it doesn't get confusing at all in terms of what period of time we're in. But yeah, like I said, it is extremely dry and very serious, which I guess suits the tone perfectly. I wouldn't expect there to be outrageous comedy or anything like that, but I would have liked a little bit of humor here and there in terms of between the characters, or at least, a bit more depth to at least some of the leading characters and such. But unfortunately, it's very much more focused about, being a bit of, I guess you could say, wartime propaganda and, yeah, stirring up some patriotic sentiment, which, quite frankly, was kind of needed in 1942. So, yeah, overall, it's a fairly solid film, but unfortunately, I'm only going to be able to give it 3 out of 5. Not the greatest start to a box set that we've ever had, but hopefully it will improve from here on in. So there's the disc. And on the disc itself, we've got a 1080p high definition presentation. Looks and sounds perfectly good. Nothing spectacular, but it is serviceable. And then we've got In Which We Serve, an appreciation interview with Professor Melanie Williams, author of David Lean, from 2025. Then we've got an audio recording of a conversation between actor Richard Attenborough, as he is in this in a small supporting role, and Noel Coward at London's National Film Theatre from 1969. Then we've got a profile of In Which We Serve featurette, and finally a theatrical trailer. So a decent amount of extras there, which hasn't always been the case for imprint box sets. I think it was one of the Tales of Adventure box sets, for instance, that had very few extras on their discs for each of the films. But yeah, fair decent amount of extras there, and overall a fairly solid film. Certainly can respect it. Certainly helped David Lean get a career that obviously we're going to be looking at in part as a director. So that's well worth it, especially given the great films that David Lean has done that I've already seen. Like I said, Lawrence of Arabia and such. So yeah, but it's just not particularly for me, and it certainly does feel, like I said, a major product of the time, for better or for worse. But nonetheless, thank you for watching. If you have seen this film before, I'd like to hear your thoughts on it, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.